naturally, I don't know what I did. I just get to the baseline, I had to chop the box, there's nobody there. He's on my backside.
I had no idea after posting this 9-second clip of Jordan Poole on October 29th that it could lead to such a big controversy, otherwise known as Carrygate. You see, Jordan Poole had been pushing the boundaries of legal ball handling for 2 years now, and nary a peep from the ref or a toot from their whistles. So when the Golden State Warriors took on the Miami Heat 2 weeks ago, they had no idea they were about to be a target of the officials. Jordan Poole got called for carrying not once, not twice, but 3 times. And through some half-assed internet research, I can guarantee this is the most ever called on one player in one game in the history of the NBA.
I guess there was an email that went out today, and honestly, I didn't check my email. We got a game today. I'm not looking at emails.
So we're to infer that the league emailed head coach Steve Kerr to tell him they'd be enforcing the carry rule in that game to make a point. And the irony is that the move that started this whole thing wasn't even a carrying violation. There's a separate rule in the rule book that states the player may not touch the ball twice and then dribble it again. It basically becomes a double dribble.
So I was shocked because basically the whole league does that. They've been doing it ever since Allen Iverson convinced the referees that it wasn't a carry. It is a carry.
Steve Kerr should know. Here he is guarding Iverson when he commits a very clear violation of the dribbling rules, as the ball clearly comes to a pause before dribbling again. Even his most famous crossover on Michael Jordan had a discontinued dribble before he actually crossed him over and pulled up in MJ's face. So the question arises, was Poole simply singled out because of the fanfare his move against the Suns generated? In his 7-point loss, the Warriors had to have been upset that either they started calling these out of the blue or that their coach doesn't check his email on game days. And let's not forget, Steph Curry hit LeBron with a similar violation that wasn't called back in the 2017 NBA Finals. I'll be talking with former NBA ref Ronnie Nunn in a minute to discuss these 3 carries in detail to see if they were good calls. But I have some stats to share with you that might blow your mind. If we compare the amount of carries called per game year over year, we see an astounding rise this season to well over triple the amount of dribbling violations we've seen since 2014, and the highest since 2000. Even more crucial, since Kerr spoke out about Poole and Iverson on November 1st, look at the increase in carrying calls. The referees have called over 10 times more than they did to start the season, forcing the players to adjust how they handle the ball properly. And despite seeing plenty of instances of players getting away with clear violations, overall, it's been a focus that could very well benefit the game, or at least make it slightly more fair for the defender. It's calls like these that can affect not just the final outcome, but how well individual players perform. And if you want the chance to win some money on Jordan Poole's production, or any other NBA player, then you have to head over to UnderdogFantasy.com and check out Pick'em, where you can choose 2 to 5 players, then decide on the over-under for specific stats. It's super easy to set up, and you can win up to 20 times your initial entry fee. If you think Poole is going to go off against the Clippers on Wednesday, then get in the action. But it doesn't stop there. You can make it a rival and add players from different teams to make it even more interesting. They've also got drafts where you can compete against me. You think you got what it takes? If you click on the link below and use my promo code BBALL, you'll get a deposit match of up to $100. So if you want a chance to get up to 20 times your money or beat me in a draft, you've got to check out Underdog Fantasy. Use my code BBALL, get up to $100 in matching deposits, and you'll have a better chance at winning money and following why the refs thought Poole carried the ball. I had to bring in ex-NBA ref Ronnie Nunn, who was also head of officials for 5 years, to weigh in. So Ronnie, we need to go through some of these calls they made after, I guess, warning the Warriors they were going to be looking at Jordan Poole and his ball handling. So we have a carry on a crossover move, and I was wondering if you can give me your expert opinion on what you think happened here.
What happens is there is kind of the type of carry that we see here could in fact be legal, because on a carry that kind of takes to the side of the hand and then goes up and over, makes one believe that the hand may be more under the ball to go up and over. When some of the hands of the players are a little bit bigger, they actually can move a ball, and it depends on how quickly they release it so it doesn't look like a carry. As long as the hands are to the side, you can play ball. Mm-hmm. But when it gets dipped under or the fingers get dipped under, then you can talk about it. So this one to me was close. But if you're going to kind of take a curvature kind of move, then the officials are going to call that, because that's an illusion. But it's an illusion you've also got to be careful about, because it appears like it's a carry.
I suppose there's some vectors going on here. We have the vector up and down, the ball floating, which you're not supposed to interrupt, right? But then he does a pretty, provocative, from his point of view, left to right vector, which I suppose, with a bent wrist as well, which, looks a little bit concerning. Are you concerned at all with the sight line of the referee on this one, the trail, being able to see this properly?
So I think our official there is in a spot where she can be closed out. It might be a stacked situation. So I would have wanted her not to be so sure about this particular one. As long as you don't go up and over, mm-hmm. it removes that illusion that you carried it. So what players should do is don't do a curvature. Just do something across.
Fair enough. And I agree. I think that was clean enough. It didn't merit a call. But we have a few minutes later, another call on a similar move here with a right to left this time, and right in front of the referee. So, there's no argument that he couldn't see it. Bill Kennedy has a beautiful view right of the everything that's going on right in front of him as a slot. So what do you think about this call?
Yeah, I think Bill Kennedy can see this play a little bit better. He's right. In this case, he's under. And in a slot position, your free throw line extended, top of the key extended. So you can actually see a little bit better. And I'm looking at it now as he comes into being. And again, I think it's the same movement, except in this case, he moves away from Bill Kennedy. And it appears that the one he has, being a very veteran guy there, he obviously sees that it's a carry. But again, I think it's an illusion. And we have to be careful. We got to find the hand. We've got to find the fingers and see what happens on that. So, I couldn't disagree. I just think players need to be aware not to use that kind of behavioral movement, so to speak.
Sure. It's legal to have your hand on the side of the ball, right? Because you really, unless you're Dr. J or something like that, you can't really palm it when you're having the ball in the hand on the side. And certainly during a wide dribble, that'd be really tough. So I don't see any issue with the hand placement here. I guess maybe there's a little pinky there but you do see maybe the slightest bit of a pause, right, where it loses its normal flotation down toward the basket in the up-down vector. I suppose that would be the big trigger for Kennedy to make this call.
Yeah, and I think you use a great word. If the ball is paused, that would make, if the ball is paused because the guy has a big hand, that's a problem, because he could actually hold the ball and then release it. You got to also remember that there are pauses as the ball spins in the hand. When people go to shake somebody, there's that pause, that Allen Iverson from side to side, even though the ball may be higher than his shoulder or his back.
Yeah.
If as long as that ball, his hand is not under that ball, you're going to get a sustained pause. It's like a centrifugal force against the hand, when you have smaller hands, but you can have that ball out there and not be a violation. So pause has to be cautiously seen and reacted to.
Well, we get to later on in the game, and I don't think, I got to look, but I'm not sure we've ever had a player get 3 carries called on him in one NBA game. I have to imagine maybe Poole thought, okay, you got me in the 2, so now let's go back to how we were. But this one, I think, probably was maybe the easiest call of any of the ones they had to make in this game.
Yeah, this one was really easy, and I remember seeing the clip on this on one of my tweets, where he actually looks back at the official and makes like a funny face, like, you're purposely doing something. It was kind of childish in a way, but he's obviously irritated. That part I get. And what's happening, I think, is kids are actually coming to stops with balls, and then they continue. And it's kind of like a fooling around way of shaking somebody and breaking their heels and breaking their ankles and what have you. And I think what happens is some of the guys carry it on. This is truly a palm of the ball. The ball came to rest, and then he continued. Now, if he doesn't get that, then we need to sit down and tell him, like, this ain't happening here in the NBA, and it doesn't happen probably anywhere in the world. As a matter of fact, elsewhere in the world, they're even more strict. So that's nothing to make a face about, so to speak.
And by the way, what you mentioned about the spin of the ball is a great thing here, because in the replay we have that you can see the ball is spinning, and then it stops spinning for a second in his hand and then goes back down to the floor. So that's like a really easy way to check it. I mean, obviously the referees don't have the replay, but they're seeing that, I'm sure, in real time. And that's another trigger why this would be an easy call to make.
Yeah, it is an easy call. I'll tell you one thing right now. The fact that it's borderline on a couple of the other ones that I was talking about in the way I was explaining it, palming needs to be addressed.
And there's no question that we could go back in time and you wouldn't have seen, some of what you're talking about now. Although I can also guarantee you that if you were around in 1984, there'd be some old timer then who'd be complaining about the carries that the NBA players were doing back then as well.
Amen to that. Listen, the NBA made a very good move on the FOM, the freedom of movement, things that they wanted to see in basketball, fluidity, cutting. And you know what? We addressed that during my days even on the floor. So that was what the traditionalists wanted to see anyway. So they were right in that complaint. And they're right about the palming complaint. But whatever happened, I think this example at this time really is going to make a change, because now everybody's going to look for it. Every coach is going to jump off the bench and say he's palming. It's a turnover. So I think what we want to do is get it back in that strike box, that baseball has. Get it back in the box, and we can accept an error here and there, but let's get it back in the box.
Well, Ronnie, thanks so much for breaking this down for us. I really appreciate it. I think it's going to really help everybody, including the players, as they watch this, understand where the referees are coming from and, how to make the game better.
How to make the game better, make it enjoyable, and within the rules, because there's a lot of great artistry in basketball without bending rules.
You got it. Well, stay tuned, sports fans. We'll be back with Ronnie all throughout the season to go over the biggest calls and everything that you want to know about and why they're being made or not made. So, Ronnie, I can't wait to see you the next time we get this together.
I'm looking forward to it, Coach Nick. I'm always with you.